All right, hi everybody, Mr. Withers here. This is our final review session for fractions. Today we're going to talk about dividing fractions. Now, with division, it is not quite as difficult as you might think. As long as you can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. And all you need are these three words: skip, flip, and multiply. If you don't have these in your notes somewhere, I would recommend you write them down. Okay, if we can skip, flip, and multiply, we can divide fractions. Definitely. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Let's say that we have a problem like 2/3 divided by 5/7. All we need to do is we're going to skip our first fraction. We're going to flip our second fraction so it turns into 7/5. And then we are going to multiply instead of divide. And I know my multiplication rules tell me to just multiply straight across. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 5 is 15. Cannot be simplified, and that's my final answer. Skip the first, flip the second, and multiply instead of divide. You'll get the right answer every single time. Let's try another example. 4/9 divided by 10/13. Skip the first, flip the second. That turns it into 13/10. And then multiply. Now, if I remember one thing about my multiplication rules from the last video, is that I can actually do this great little tool called cross simplification. So I can look across my fractions. Do 9 and 13 have anything in common? In this case, no. But do 4 and 10? Absolutely. I can divide by 2. That turns this into a 2 and this into a 5. Now I multiply straight across. 2 times 13 is 26. 9 times 5 is 45. And that is my final answer. All right, if you're an EDM student, you are welcome to shut this video off now. As long as you understand skip, flip, and multiply, you're good to go. If you are struggling with getting the right answer, it might be a good idea to go back to our multiplying fractions video, because as long as you know to skip the first fraction and flip the second one, you can use all the rules from that multiplying video. If you are a pre-algebra student, stick around. We're going to do one example with negative numbers, and then I will cut you loose as well. All right, EDM, go ahead and sign off. Pre-algebra, here we go. The one difference with pre-algebra that we do from EDM is that we do sometimes have those negative numbers and we have those mixed numbers. So if we had something like -3 1/5 divided by -2 1/8, we would have to think a little bit differently. Now, just like multiplying, we always want to turn these into improper fractions. So I'm going to change this into -16/5 divided by -17/8. That looks a little bit easier to work with for me. Okay, now I'm going to go back and skip, flip, stays negative, and multiply. Do 8 and 5 have anything in common? I'm looking at cross simplifying. They do not. 16 and 17 do not. So I cannot simplify, which means whatever answer I get, that's going to be my answer. I don't have to do any work on the back end for this. Then I look at my signs. I say I've got a negative times a negative. I know from fairy tale math, if a bad thing happens to a bad person, that's a good thing in fairy tales, right? 2 negatives make a positive. So 16 times 8, which is 128. I'm going to put my answer over here, sorry. And 5 times 17, which is 85. Then I just need to do some simplifying work here. I know that 85 goes into 128 once, with 43 left over. Not a pretty example, but a correct one. Okay, 1 and 43/85. Sometimes they're not going to come out nice and neat, but as long as we understand skipping, flipping, and multiplying, we can do this. And again, if you need to go back to our multiplying fractions video to check those rules, or if you need to ask me about fairy tale math to make sure that we have our positive and negative rules down, please don't hesitate to do so. Okay, skip, flip, multiply, make sure our mixed numbers get turned into improper fractions, and we should be good to go. Let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, good luck.